You know that feeling, right? That knot in your stomach when you start thinking about money. And what's the usual advice? Just relax, make a better budget, think positive. But what if we've been looking at this all wrong? In this explainer, we're going to dig into a really different idea. What if that anxiety isn't some personal flaw? What if it's actually a totally rational response to the world we're all living in?
Yeah, this is the story we're constantly sold, isn't it? That financial anxiety is basically a personal weakness. It's treated like an emotional problem, a sign that you're not confident enough, or that you just can't get a handle on your feelings. But let's flip that on its head. What if that feeling isn't a bug in your system, but a feature, like a built-in alarm that's desperately trying to signal something important about what's going on around you? Now that is the big idea we're going to unpack right here. Okay, so to really get why this is such a game changer, we have to look at how we usually talk about anxiety. For decades, the spotlight has been aimed right at the individual.
So the traditional view basically diagnoses it as an inside job. It's seen as you're overreacting, you have poor emotional regulation, you lack confidence, or my personal favorite, it's just a mindset problem. And all that leads to one piece of advice, right? Fix yourself. But the problem is, this whole approach just completely ignores what's happening on the outside.
All right, so let's completely reframe this. Instead of seeing anxiety as some kind of defect, let's look at what it was actually designed to do. We're talking evolution here. It's not a mistake, it's a tool.
Think of it this way. At its very core, anxiety is this ancient, super important warning system. Its whole job is to sniff out risk in your environment and scream, hey, pay attention. So here's the kicker. When the actual risk in the world goes up, your anxiety is supposed to go up too. It means the system is working perfectly.
And this really lays out the two different ways of looking at it. On one side, you have irrational fear. The message is something is wrong with you. It's a weakness and you need to just shut it down. But on the other side, you have rational signal. Here, the message is totally different. Something has changed in the environment. It's an adaptive response, and it's something you need to listen to and understand. See the difference? The focus shifts from blaming yourself to actually understanding your situation.
And that idea of situational awareness is absolutely key, because when you actually stop and look at our modern economy, well, you realize the environment itself has changed. It's not your imagination. The sources of risk they've multiplied.
I mean, think about it. For a lot of us, income isn't the steady, predictable thing anymore. It's all over the place. We're hopping between jobs way more often. And those jobs, they come with way fewer guarantees, like pensions or solid benefits. And at the exact same time, the big costs, housing, education, they've gotten more expensive and way less flexible. So the safety nets have gotten smaller, while the amount of risk we're personally expected to handle has just exploded.
And just think back a generation or two. For our parents or grandparents, a steady job or owning a home, those were like gold-plated signals of security. You hit those milestones, you could feel pretty confident you were going to be okay. But today, those same signals just don't guarantee the same thing. You can do everything you were supposed to do and still feel like you're walking on a tightrope. And that, of course, just cranks up the uncertainty and the anxiety. Okay, and this all leads to a really interesting, kind of weird paradox. We all think that earning more money is the cure, right? That it should automatically make us feel more secure. But for a lot of people, it just doesn't. So let's figure out why. It's a strange feeling, isn't it? You get a raise, your salary goes up, but the worry doesn't really go down. If this was all just about the number in your bank account, shouldn't a bigger number be the simple fix?
Well, here's the answer. It's because your brain's anxiety system is way smarter than a simple calculator. It's not just looking at your income. It's running a much more complex calculation. It's tracking your total vulnerability.
And this really gets to the core of it. Just picture your financial security as a buffer zone, like a cushion or a margin for error. In the past, that buffer, made up of things like savings, pensions, job security, it was pretty thick. But for so many of us today, that buffer has gotten dangerously thin, leaving almost no room to breathe if something goes sideways.
So what exactly is financial vulnerability? Well, it's pretty simple, really. It's the gap between all the risks you're exposed to, volatile income, huge fixed costs, debt, and the buffers you have to absorb those shocks, like savings or flexibility in your spending. And when that gap gets wider, your brain does its job. It sees the danger, and it turns up the anxiety dial. Okay,
So, if the real problem isn't just in our heads, but in our actual situations, then what's the solution? Well, it's not just about thinking differently, it's about building differently. And their research is pretty clear on what actually works, what genuinely calms financial anxiety. It comes down to 4 key pillars. Number 1, income you can actually predict and count on. Number 2, financial buffers, that emergency fund. 3, having some real flexibility in your expenses so you can roll with the punches. And 4, actively reducing your exposure to those huge, life-altering financial shocks. And here's the bottom line. Building real, tangible stability in your financial life it's way more powerful for reducing anxiety than just telling yourself, don't worry. That feeling of security doesn't come from chanting affirmations. It comes from having an actual, solid foundation under your feet. Which brings us to the big takeaway. The next time you feel that financial anxiety creeping in, instead of treating it like a personal failing, try listening to it. Treat it like feedback. Because it might just be giving you a brutally honest report on the real risks in your environment. It might be pointing you not toward fixing your mindset, but toward building a stronger, more resilient life. So the real question isn't, what's wrong with me? It's, what is this feeling trying to tell me?
All sources and references for this video are listed in the description below. This video is for educational purposes only and does not constitute financial advice. Please consult a licensed professional for your specific situation.